Today I'm here to show you the latest volume in the Harry Potter Watercolor Magic series. This is Book 2, Flora and Fauna. It includes projects from not just Harry Potter, but also the Fantastic Beasts Wizarding World. As it was in the first book, there are 32 projects, and the author is, and forgive me, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing this correctly, Tugce Audoire. There's 128 pages, 64 of which are a watercolor paper. They're supposedly easy to remove. I will check that out later when it comes time to do some painting. They do suggest that you remove the picture that you're going to be painting. There's two types of paper here. You can see it where the light catches there. The printed portion of it with all the instructions is a fairly smooth, sleek paper. It's still high quality, but it wouldn't really be a painting paper. And then the second portion, where you actually do your painting, is a watercolor paper. I think you can see the texture there. It's a rather smooth cold press, almost closer to a hot press. So you're not going to be doing a whole lot of really runny paintings, but that wouldn't be suitable for this sort of a thing anyway. The book is broken down to there's an introduction. There's a color chart showing you all the colors they use. The author has used the Winsor & Newton Cotman Half Pan Studio Set 45, but the colors are pretty easily found or substituted for. If you don't have that set and don't intend to buy it, you'll be able to use what you have. You might need to supplement some colors. There's quite a large range of colors here, but each painting only uses a few colors, so you can kind of go through and find out what colors you would have that might fit the pictures that you're going to be painting. The brushes that they use are also the Winsor & Newton Cotman brushes, and they use a black gel pen and a white gel pen. I have other brands of brushes, and I don't think I'm going to have any problem substituting. I'm going to use a Tech pen, which, you know, I've got a couple of different brands of that. The Zebra Sensations or the Pigma Micron. There's a lot of different pens out there that don't run when you use watercolor on them. And rather than using a white gel pen, I'm just going to use gouache when I need to use it. Then the author goes over just some of the basic techniques and some tips on watercolor painting. Then you get into the actual instructions for each type of painting. Now this is what the finished work looks like in color. The author gives you a list. They actually show you the colors they're using. And then there are some step-by-step colors, or excuse me, instructions. They're pretty basic. I think that very young children probably wouldn't be able to use it, but older children, beginners to watercolor, I think this would actually be a good start for learning that technique. It's not for drawing, because all of the paintings are drawn for you. You don't need to draw them yourself, although it would be easy enough to draw them and paint them on other paper if you don't want to actually tear pages out or use the book. You'd have that option too. Most of the instructions are all on one page. There are a few that go more than one, such as Fox the Phoenix. That's 3. I think 4 pages is the longest any of them go. Yeah, their Hungarian horntail is more pages than that. All in all, this looks to me like, especially if you are into Harry Potter or the wizarding world, it looks like a great way to learn a little bit about watercolor and to have some fun with Harry Potter. The quality overall is very nice. It does lie flat because in essence it has two covers. It's sort of a fold out, and you can see as I've been doing it here, it just lays perfectly flat, so it'll be easy to work in. You will need your own watercolors and your own brushes, but it's going to be very easy to work with. One of the nice things about the way that the contents are listed is that for each of the projects it's listed where the illustration is and where the actual sketch is. Now the illustration, of course, is also where you find the instructions. So now I'm going to do Niffler. These are also rated according to difficulty, one simple, intermediate, advanced. This is one of the advanced projects, which I still find fairly simple, but this is going to depend on how much you've worked with watercolor. But I can tell right off that Niffler is on page 44. There's the instructions, and then I look and the sketch is on page 115. Now these are not numbered, so that isn't quite as helpful as the list of the instructions, but it still gives you an idea where it's going to be in the book. You can look at what's around it. There we go. There's Niffler. Okay, I am going to take the page out of the book. I don't see the perforations. It said they're perforated, but it tears really easily. Yeah, I don't think you'd have to worry too much about pages coming loose accidentally. If you throw it around, they will, but it's not going to be just you pick up the book and all of a sudden the pages start falling out. Okay, I've just gathered brushes. Most of these are not very expensive brushes. I picked them more for the size than anything. Now one of the things to keep in mind is, like, it asks for a size 2, 3, size 1 brush. There's no standard in the artist industry, so a size 1 brush of one brand may be substantially larger than a size 1 brush from another brand. So I just kind of made sure I had 3 brushes of different sizes, fairly small ones. And this flat, I think, is a little smaller than what they're calling for, but I think it's a good enough size. For my paints, I don't have Cotman, and so I've got this Schmink palette that I think has colors that will get me fairly close, and that my darks probably won't be quite as dark. And that doesn't bother me. This doesn't have to be exactly like the example in the book. So if you don't have exactly the brushes or exactly the paints, don't sweat it. Just use what you've got. I'm sorry, my camera almost immediately turned off and it took me a few seconds to see it, but you didn't miss much. I was impressed with the paper. It handled well, very little buckling or dimpling, and the paint flowed very well.